Here we are with our Street to Stage panel. Murda Mami is, of course, a Chicago footworker. Jessica Deer is the artistic director of Chicago Dance Crash, and Maida McNeil from Honey Pot Performance. Maida, I want to start with you and talk about all of your work. We're calling this panel Street to Stage. And, you know, one of many Chicago native dance styles is house. And I know you've done a lot of work researching, performing, the whole nine yards there. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Honey Pot Performance is a Afro-feminist performance ensemble. Multidisciplinary movement is one of the creative disciplines we work in, and all of the members are Chicago natives, and Chicago House was formative to us as human beings. Like, it kind of shaped everything. I think the foundations of who we are have become, and we wanted to explore that through our work. So we, from like 2005 to 2014, had several different works that were really about just people's experiences, his personal histories, the anthems, the movement vocabulary that we knew, some of it that didn't have names. It was aesthetic we knew, and we just started digging into that. And in the work we made in 2014 called Jew Cry Hand Clap, really began to think about Chicago House's relationship to the earlier Black social forms that kind of influenced it, so that we could hear, jazz and gospel and blues and other things that were influencing house, like punk, that all of that was in what we, experienced as house, and that we wanted to kind of collect the stories from other folks, who of their experiences, the places they went. And so we documented about 350 spaces, collected stories, and made a work about, house and its connections to this long history of kind of Black social culture in Chicago, and it being important, not just as for pleasure, like certainly pleasure and leisure is important, but also that like Black folks were cultivating safe spaces for themselves, right? Through what, might be looked at as like, that's just the social space, but this den or this lounge or this neighborhood club spot was, the place where folks felt welcome, right? Black, queer, young, yeah. So that is kind of the genesis of that work, and it has kind of evolved, continued to evolve into what feels like an institute right now, that we're doing panels similar, to what you're doing, like kind of really trying to document it from all the angles and discover layers of the story that have not been told, and to kind of document that, and make all that knowledge, catalog it and make it available back to the people who told the stories, and then also for kind of scholars, researchers, anybody who's interested in this deeper history coming from the people who lived it.
Yeah, and that's what I love about Honey Pot too. You take it to the stage, but you also take it to digital archives and community events and workshops and books and, yeah, all of the above, actually, for sure. Jessica, Dance Crash combines hip hop techniques with contemporary movement. I mean, and creates just sort of like this vast vocabulary, not to mention theatrical elements and sometimes narrative. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you translate that to a performative situation?
Yeah, and I think vast vocabulary is a good word to start with because, depending what dancers we're working with or what project we're on, it can be anything from popping, waving, tutting to breaking, combined with contemporary and acrobatic forms to sort of create this fusion that has, what we try to have be our signature kind of athletic brand of things. But yeah, it's oftentimes we're in the theater for things like an evening story length show or rep pieces, but we can also be, hosting a battle at the Den or performing in a church, performing in a club, so depending where we're at, kind of tells us how we want to focus in on what social dances that we're using. But yeah, we're a fusion company. So.
Yeah, and another sort of like tradition that I love about, you know, all of these kind of social forms is that it values the individual, but also within a group. And I see that in Dance Crash too. How is that sort of ethos sort of facilitated through rehearsal and performance? Everybody stands out, and yet it is so much an ensemble.
Yeah, that's something that's really important to me, is that the dancers are not cookie cutter versions of each other. I want them all to be their own unique person. And that can be a really helpful thing when you're dealing with such a variety of styles, because we have different people that will step up to the front of the room if, if we're in need for their expertise in that particular style. So it just then goes hand in hand when we have a story show. It's kind of a fun experience to cast people in different characters that can help feature what they really specialize in, or to collaborate two different dancers that maybe one specializes in modern and one in house, or one in breaking and one in old school jazz. So that's like a really fun element in rehearsal for us that kind of keeps things feeling like a social dance experience even when we're in a dance studio. And I feel like that's something I really learned from Jim Morrow and the time I spent with him at Instruments of Movement. He was kind of one of the first people that I saw figure out how to incorporate dancers of really different backgrounds together to make art. So he's a big inspiration for us.
Yeah, thanks for saying that name too. Hey, Murda Mommy, before we lose you again, I'm hoping we don't. Yeah, I want to talk to you about, thinking about this concept of stage. I've been noticing lately too, footwork always, one of the venues for footwork is commonly video. And that's how I've been kind of keeping up with you since I saw the performance in 2019 that Wendy Perrin talked about. But lately, you've been using the stage as sort of like a platform or a vehicle, and using footwork as a vehicle for activism, and for the benefit of your whole community. Can you tell me a little bit how that started and what went down?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because Chicago footwork is a urban street dance. It's not even 45 to 50 years old, and I'm used to footworking and dancing, expressing myself in garages, alleys, basements, things of that nature, where I conjure with fellow dancers, and we express ourselves. But I also, as I got older, I've been dancing since a child. My whole dance career is on YouTube. I'm a virtual baby. As you can see, you've noticed a lot of my work on the internet. I wanted to see footwork in a whole different aspect and style. And yes, footwork has gotten this plateau on a commercial standpoint, but it's starting to get there on a stage with the likes of Help of the Era and so many other artists and performances who are doing their thing. And I noticed there wasn't many women artists who were getting recognized and things of that nature, or being able to put themselves out there. And I took it upon myself on how can I put myself out there as an artist, in such as a ballet artist, and how you have solo artists, and instead of being in a group, how would it be to how can I incorporate this street art onto the stage for it could be pleasable and for it to be understandable. And I just took those arts, and I just took myself and what I wanted to see as a young child and what I could give back to the younger youth. And that comes with the activism and being within my community and trying to set things up within my structure, within the urban society and the Black community, and let them know you can do dance and you can use the arts and a means to as a way out. You don't have to be in the streets. You don't have to sell drugs. You don't have to do anything of these nature. You don't have to even look up to a rap artist. You can look up to a dance artist, and you can make a life for what you want and what you love to do. And I wanted to set an example to the young ladies, not just women, because I'm all for empowerment of women, but not just for ladies, but just for a generation, boys and girls, which got me to thinking, how can I expand? How can I show my art? And I just tapped in and networked with so many different artists and began to make a name for myself. And within making a name for myself, I recently, with the help of Dance USA, I received one of the most prestigious grants, which no one ever really, this is my first time ever winning. And I took that and funded myself personally and funded myself to be able to construct. And now I do have my own dance company. footwork company, which I'm willing to merge ballet and jazz and contemporary and flamenco, and see how footwork can combine with the nature and see how far it can really go. And now I'm at a plateau where I'm a new artistic footwork director of Bringing Out Talent Dance Company. It's just been a journey. It's been a while, and I just really want to show my community that this new dance can uphold and stand next to many other dance cultures here, not only in Chicago but around the world. And I'm just so thankful that the world is recognizing Chicago footwork, not just on a commercial standpoint, but as far as theater also.
Yeah, the stage is really just one more way in which we can send the messages we want to send and express, right? And you mentioned empowerment. Just quickly in 30 seconds, this panel is all women, and not necessarily intentionally, but I guess I should say not unintentionally either. It was sort of a happy accident. And can we just take a second to talk about the empowerment of these social and street forms and what that does, especially with women?
Man, it's most definitely it's a blessing to be a part of it, and for women to get recognized, period. Because if ballet started off with guys, and so many other genres started off with just guys. So it's important to get us ladies our foot in the door. And speaking of empowerment, I also created footwork short film co-directed with Will Glass-Steagall, and I made a short film empowering young women, and it has every genre of woman from the beginning all the way until 5 years old. And you get to see some interviews, and you get to see a standpoint on how women feel within the footwork industry and being pushed out there. So it's all love. I love every woman for every genre, and we won the world.
Rita, you used the word feminism when you described Honey Pot, and Jessica, you talked about individuality too. Anything to add on that subject?
Yeah, I think just for us, it's been really important as we are telling this history of house is now a historical form, right? It continues to evolve, but it now has this 30-year history behind it. And so it's been really important for us to highlight the stories of these vets in both the dance community and the DJ promoter, all of that, running some of the local spots that women, have been part of that too. And so, that we definitely, incorporate that lane into what we're archiving.
If I might add, just so the world knows, Chicago Footwork is a branch off from house. This is all house.
Yes, I'm going to be reaching out to you.
Yes, it originates from. But for the people who don't know, that's internationally and some nationally. It all started from house music. It started from the 120 tempo BPMs, and then it goes to 160. And then it went to juke music. Mm-hmm. And then we have our own footwork, and then you go into the lines of Ghetto Technician, where you have the lines of R.P. Boo, Rashad, Tracksman, DJ Sluggo, things of those nature. But those are still house DJs, but venture on off to get more technical for the dancers in that aspect to make it a more fast tempo pace.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, I could talk about this all day, and I invite you to go backstage and continue the conversation. I'm glad y'all are having it, and I'm glad that we could at least have a few minutes together to start exploring these forms, native to Chicago too. That's just even better. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.